What's up, everybody? It's the Sonoran Desert Grower. I found this video that I'm very curious to see what it's about. It is titled Inside Saudi's Company's Sweet Water Deal in Arizona. It is June 12th. Okay, let's check it out.
Start with a water story that I know has baffled many Arizonans. You may have heard about the Alfalfa farm in western Arizona, run by a Saudi Arabian company. The company was a
That just sounds insane. A company from Saudi Arabia is growing alfalfa in Arizona. What is going on?
attracted to the land by something Saudi Arabia doesn't have: water to grow
We don't have water. This is getting even crazier.
alfalfa. Now, the Arizona Republic is revealing that the Saudis got a sweetheart deal to rent that land and get the water. And do you know who the landlord is? I'll let our guest answer that question. Arizona Republic reporter Rob Odell was part of a team that's worked on this story for a year. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Again, there's been reporting about this farm over the last few years.
So really quick, who do you think the owner is? Private company, uh, government, private owner. What do y'all think? I think it has to be either a company or the government because it's Saudi Arabia and they have a lot of pull. They have a lot of pull because of the money, all that oil money.
Stories written, you've been part of that coverage. But your new reporting has raised some pretty urgent questions. Let's start with what I teased there. Who is the landlord?
It's actually us. It's the state of Arizona. They rent state trust land from the state land department.
So us, the taxpayers, are
Yeah.
this landlord for this company that's getting a sweetheart deal. Describe the deal. Why is it a sweet deal?
Ah, it's so frustrating. They're not even charging them nothing. Why are they doing this? Because of the oil? The gas prices are insane.
And how does the water figure into it?
Well, it's actually, they have two farms. There's one that you can see as you go down I-10 as you hit Vicksburg, and there's another farm that's farther north in Butler Valley, in a remote part of Butler Valley. And they rent the land for $25 an acre, which we showed that
$25 an acre. In case y'all don't know, that is crazy cheap. There are farmers out there that would love to rent some state land for $25 an acre. And I bet you anything that the groundwater that they're using, because it has to be groundwater where they're talking about, like where they're at, um, totally unregulated. No one is keeping tabs on it. They probably don't even know because that's how Arizona is with the groundwater. You can pretty much any farm can set up and use however much they want.
is about 1/6 of the market price.
1/6 of market value for the land from the state land department.
Yes, and the state land department's own appraisal puts the rental price at more like 125 or 175 an acre. So they're
And that sounds more like what land goes for when you're renting it. So they're paying $25. That why? Why, like, who did they buy off?
they're definitely getting a sweet deal. It's compounded by the fact that they're taking water out of a basin that potentially could be used by Phoenix. So if our water
Okay. So if y'all don't know, the city of Phoenix has water stored underground in all these places. And that's why you'll hear people project that even with Lake Mead drying up and Lake Powell drying up, that they have a water supply for the next 10 years, irregardless of that fact. But if you're letting farms set up shop and use as much water as they want, do you really have that water? No.
crisis grows more intense, we could potentially use the water from this valley, and that makes the water very expensive. That makes the water worth a lot. And so, according to some state estimates, it could be $3 to $4 million a year worth of water that they're pumping to grow alfalfa.
And they can use as much water as they want, as much groundwater as they want. Do we know how much they're using?
We don't know how much they're using, and that's actually back when these leases were getting put together. The employees of the state land department wanted to know that because they were worried that potentially, if it's used over 20 or 30 years, it could deplete this backup water source for Phoenix.
So let's put a map up.
So what is going on that the city employees wanted this information, but they weren't able to? There's some kind of nefarious business deal behind the scenes type of vibe going on here.
Show folks exactly where this property is. It's called Fondamonte. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Fondamonte.
Fondamonte. It's near the La Paz County hamlet of Bouts, about 140 miles northwest of Phoenix. So put this in the larger context of the challenges we face with groundwater in Arizona as we try to meet this water crisis and what this tells us about that.
Well, we have a groundwater crisis in Arizona, especially in rural Arizona, because there's no rules for how much you can pump. So if you own the land, you can sink a well, you can pump as much as you want. So that's drawing down aquifers.
It's the Wild West. This is why buying rural land in Arizona that has a well can backfire.
So people, there's rural residents want regulation. It's kind of unusual for rural residents to be crying out for regulation, but they are. And members of both political parties want to see groundwater reform. The difference with this particular story is we don't need the legislature to, fix this problem or make changes to this problem. This is the state land department, so they could charge more just by deciding to charge more. They could, make the Saudi company report how much water they're taking if they wanted to do that, but they haven't done that.
So
What a mess. What an absolute mess. So these Saudi Arabian agricultural companies set up shop in Arizona, another desert where we're experiencing a mega drought, and they are tapping into one of the emergency reserve aquifers, and they're shipping that hay to Saudi Arabia, probably to feed some cows and goats and things that eat hay, livestock that eats hay. So that means that what they're shipping it to Texas and taking it through the Gulf. That to me would be kind of the route, right? Because you have to go through the Atlantic Ocean. This just keeps getting more crazy.
So who's the person or who are the people who could do that or require them to pay more? Or maybe it sounds like we might need to take back this water for Phoenix's needs and other needs.
Well, that'd be the state land commissioner, Lisa Adkins, and Doug Ducey, the governor.
And you tried to reach them. What was the response?
They made us put our questions in writing. We tried to reach Lisa Atkins for more than a year. They answered some basic questions for us.
So it sounds like Lisa Atkins is on the take. She probably got some very nice bribes.
For when the leases were, how many wells they put in. They put in 8 wells on their 2 properties, but they didn't answer the questions. Why aren't you charging more? Why aren't you asking them? Why aren't you requiring them to tell us how much water they're using? And why are you letting a Saudi company pump out of our future water supply? And they didn't answer those questions. They just didn't answer.
What about the governor? What could he do on his own, Governor Ducey?
Well, then we asked them that too, and they didn't answer that question either. So, but a lot of people think that you don't need a majority in the legislature to fix some of these things. It's not like there's a lot of opposition to metering wells, making people tell how much water they're using because of private property rights, and people don't want the government to know that. This is different. This is if you rent our land, you have to tell us. Otherwise, don't rent the land. There are ways to do that, but they haven't done it yet.
Do you expect anything to come out of the legislature in now the likely final weeks of its session?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about Ducey's $1 billion plan for water. So when we talked to a couple legislators, they said, we're bringing this issue up as part of that, potential authority that he wants to build. While we're also talking desal, we're also going to be talking groundwater regulation in the rural parts of the state.
It's a really, really big deal. I do want to let folks know that alfalfa goes back to Saudi Arabia, where it becomes hay for their cows.
Yeah, to feed their cows.
Feed their cows. All right. Rob Odell of the Arizona Republic.
The absurdity. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. This is just insane. We don't This is just as bad as people planting a bunch of fruit trees. Like we don't need foreign agriculture entities to come here and set up shop and use all of our groundwater. That's insane. Go to somewhere where they have water. Don't do it here. All right. Well, this has been news that you can use. Check out my Patreon at www.patreon.com/the Sonoran Desert Grower. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.